and that's what all they wear every time. Saves you time.
Okay.
I don't have any link.
In Messenger, honey.
No.
Here you go. Look, sweetie, here. There's Messenger. Here it is in your chat. That's how I got it, because it was on my phone and I needed to get it onto my computer. Give me a second.
I got it.
Got it? Because I'm like, I can send it to his email.
There it is, honey. That's it. Beautiful. Well done. Are you going to put headphones on as well, or are you just going to wear no headphones?
I don't know really happening.
He's all right. It's okay.
You're all right. You're okay, honey. Look at that handsome man on the screen.
I just need.
Recording in progress.
Oh, feedback.
Okay. I might move.
Yeah, I've muted mine.
Pardon?
I've muted mine.
If he had headphones in, it would have.
Okay, give me a second.
I'm going to go to my name.
Where are your headphones?
No, I'm going to another one.
This is being recorded.
Pardon?
This is being recorded.
I can't. Oh,
Now, what did you exactly want me to do?
I want you to want you to ask us questions. I want you to interview us. So here's the context.
Oh, because I already did some questions.
Okay, great, good. So here's the context. It's the podcast is called Unemployable.
It's called what?
Unemployable.
Unemployable.
Yeah, the guys who run it are entrepreneurs, very proactive, very fast, money makers, business coaches, involved in lots of different enterprises. They interview lots of different people they love. Their belief, one of their principles is everybody's got a story. They love good news. They love good stories. And they're good people. They've got good values, good hearts. The person that we met on the plane, Adam, is probably not going to be in Australia and probably won't be interviewing us. So there'll probably be some people that we don't know. And the reason they were interested in us and our story is because Ian's a business broker, I'm a business consultant. And when we were talking on the plane, I just said to the guy that, I double revenue, half chaos. And he said, I love that. You should write a book. And I said, yes, I should. Yeah, I love the should word. But anyway, and that has been on my plan, but with everything else in my life. So yeah, anyway, there's enough context. How about that?
Yeah, well, I think I just wrote stuff and got some questions out of Chat GPT. So let's see how we go. And basically, what I've done is going through the plan of some like connected focus questions for both of you to answer. Then I'm going to go to Ian and do all his questions on his part, which are the same amount of questions for you on yours. And then we come together with a close of a couple of interesting things from both.
I love that. Thank you.
Are you ready, Ian? You're looking too comfortable as far
You're
as
looking way too comfortable, honey. This is rehearsal. It's like pretend you're in the podcast. We're at the podcast room.
you're in. Welcome and welcome to our podcast, whatever he calls his podcast. What's it called? Proactive.
Unemployable.
Unemployable. They're proactive money makers. There you go. Right. And I welcome you both in to here. And I have a few questions that we'd like to start off with because everyone's got a story to tell. So I'd like to ask a little bit from both of you. And then, of course, Ian, I'm going to go to you. Nicole, I'm going to go to you as well. But then we'll wrap it up with some more questions together as well. So what I'd like to know, and you can both, pipe in a little bit, and you might do a bit of tag teaming on here. I'm hoping you can work out that energy. So think about this individually, but how do you support each other as entrepreneurs running different businesses?
I love that question. Ian, would you like to go first or shall I?
You go first.
grand. Okay. So, well, I guess a little bit of context there. Ian and I have been married only 2 short years. Known each other for 4 years. And so this coming together has been a wonderful chapter. And what we found is me as a business consultant and he as a business broker, there's been a lot of alignment between our businesses. And so supporting each other, our clients are the same people. We both focus and we both love working with the same avatar or ideal client. And so what that means, but they have different needs and one feeds into the other. So how we support each other is got so many levels. Number one, being able to talk about our businesses at home and be able to extend and throw ideas around and solve problems together. It's really helpful. Number two, there are clients of Ian's who have either bought a business where I have then gone on to coach and help them within their businesses, or businesses that I've got where they are looking to sell their business and they're currently working with me, but when it comes to selling, then I've equally got a 20-year broker who's very senior, very experienced, who can help them and talk them and show them that way. And then, they can use my beautiful husband as part of their exit strategy. So, yeah.
It sounds like a match made in heaven. Have you got anything to add to that, Ian? Because, I
No,
missed something. She's got to have missed something.
well, what people don't know is that while she's online coaching other people, I'm getting trained.
I love that. And so you're secretly sitting in the background, also learning through the whole process while you guys are, together in this connection that you've got that's working so well. It's wonderful. So, Ian, I'm going to direct this first question at you, and then we'll get Nicole to actually fill in more blanks as well. So, while we've got you on the speaking gallery there, what's one thing that you've learned? One thing that you've learned from watching each other in business?
That time management is extremely important when you're husband and wife.
Just elaborate just a little bit on that.
So we work in a home office, and during the day we are sitting and working, but we're darting out and making each other a cuppa, or one's putting the washing out while the other's putting food on.
Mixed duties. I love it.
So we don't have the husband at work and the housewife in the house. We have two professionals in the house who are juggling between Zoom meetings, phone conversations, and domestic chores, so that we're fed, cleaned, and got fresh clothes.
I'm going to say fresh, cleaned, and watered. I love that.
Yes. Yeah.
And Nicole, what's one thing that you've learned from watching each other in business?
Commerciality. So, I'm famous for, my hashtag on LinkedIn is Nicole's Secret Weapon. And I am the person that stands behind the CEO or behind the director or behind the president, because my business is global. So in America, they call them presidents. What I find is I'm very frank, and people engage me because I'm very honest and blunt, and they love it. They love a come to Jesus talk. I call it a CTJ. But equally, I've got a huge heart. And with that huge heart means sometimes I over deliver. And so one thing that Ian has been teaching me, I wouldn't say I'm quite there yet, is commerciality. And what I mean by that is not going beyond scope, because sometimes I'll go too far, go too much. And it's actually a detriment to both my business, but it's also a detriment to the client. And so yeah, that's been a really helpful lesson for me to become aware of, and then be learning, and probably be learning for a few years yet.
Yeah.
What do you say, honey? Giving away the farm.
Yeah, giving away the farm. Yeah, it's not good for me and it's not good for the client.
Oh, you've also got these little sayings. I love that. Now, you mentioned it just before, Nicole, as well, where you said, at the, with the first question, and it was about, at these things come across with the dinner table. So this was one of my questions, which is, at the dinner table conversations, do they turn into strategy sessions, or do you just switch off from business at home?
Oh, I've got to take that one, Ian. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, Betty. So funny you should say that. Well, at home, like we might talk about a client or two or a problem or a situation. And, we're very careful on confidentiality. So, I call all my clients Barry. But so we might we might talk about work and those things, but more often it's family or play or our lives. We dance together, we go camping together, we jet ski camp together. So, we've got lots of things that we do. But when you talk about strategy, now that's when my cousin is involved. So when we have dinner with cousin Avril, it usually involves a pizza box, a bottle of red wine, and that pizza box gets texted all over it. And then it's like, boom, it's a cracker.
Oh, do you do that on a regular basis?
Not regular enough.
Okay, I like that. Beautiful. Thank you for that. So, what I'd like to know, Ian, we'll get you to pipe in on this one too, is what do you admire most about the other approaches their work? So, what do you admire most about the way Nicole approaches her work?
He is a fantastic listener, something that I'm learning. And yeah, I've got to learn to listen. I seem to miss the point sometimes. And so she's been pulling me up, and I listen to her when she talks to her coaches or to her coachees or whoever her clients are, and it's just silky smooth. And she sits there quietly, and then what she delivers is powerful. And I learn from that.
Powerful and punchy. And Nicole,
Try to be a bit better listener.
great. That is empowering for a lot of people out there that are husband and wife teams doing their own businesses, but yours just match. So Nicole, what do you admire most about the way that Ian approaches his work?
How do I describe it? His ability, Ian's got the biggest heart and to be fun and likable and social. And then when he turns to business, it's like it clicks. And it doesn't mean that he loses any of that, but he gets very, very task orientated and task focused. And because he's got so much depth and experience in being a broker, he just knows how to roll out the right language at the right time for the right client to help them get the outcomes that they need to progress. And I'm not saying I don't do that, but it's nice watching another professional and their art and how they do that.
Talk about the voice pitching.
It's the admiration. The voice pitching. He's just mentioned something there. It's like code word. What is that, Nicole?
What's voice pitching? Go in.
So you remember this, Nicole? We were in the car one day, and I was talking to a client, and when I hung up, you went, "Your tone is so mellow and firm," whereas sometimes Nicole will talk to you, and she pitches up, which is like a nervous door. You recall that, Nicole?
I do.
Yeah, what do you call it? It's you've got to learn to keep the voice at yeah, and you commented on how I kept my how do you keep your voice like that?
Yeah, it's just so tone and calm and steady, which creates tremendous confidence with his clients. So I don't know if it's a man thing, but it's certainly something that I can work on and learn. I tend to get very excited, but it's one of those things. My clients.
You've got the singing and you've got the baritone. You sound like you've got a choir going on there, which it's still very collective. So I'm going to ask one last question for both of you, and then I'm going to throw to Ian. So if you had to trade businesses for a day, how would you handle each other's work?
I would have to shut up for a long time and listen and listen and listen and try and figure out what the response will be. Because I'm not selling, and like Nicole is training behavior.
Yeah,
I have something tangible to sell.
that's very true. So that's good. You would listen. And Nicole, what would you do if you had to
I'd have to be far more time management and organized. Ian is so much more disciplined than I am. Sometimes I don't know how I do what I do. Um, and like it's like those things, double-edged sword. The things that your strengths are also your weaknesses. And, clients engage me because of my heart and my strength and my determination. They call me a Jack Russell. It's like I will get the outcome. Sometimes I don't know how, and it can be like a disorganized chaos. And I swear Ian looks at me sometimes and goes, I don't know. I don't know what she's doing. So if I was to work in Ian's business, my immediate image was structure and organized. And
Well, I have to say there's a running theme here, right? Structure, organize, listening more, stuff to do there in your own businesses. I love it. I love what it's brought up. Okay, Ian, we're going to go to you. I'm going to give you a few questions. I do have 6 or 7 for each. I don't think I would like to do the whole 6 or 7 each. I prefer to just do 3 and then come back and then go back. So I'm hoping that structure's okay for you. So Ian, you're in the broker, you're in manufacturing business, the real estate. So what inspired you to get into business brokerage, specifically into the manufacturing real estate component of it?
I came from manufacturing. I owned an aluminium window glass door manufacturing business back in New Zealand. And so I have a connection with machinery, precision measurements, joinery, and so I know what I'm talking about. I walk into a factory, and as soon as I smell that factory, it brings back memories.
Oh, wow. So
You can smell.
you're still connected. What brought you to what you are today?
Yeah, and look, I've sold businesses that were similar to mine, same amount of staff, cutting up aluminium, turning it into windows and doors, glazing glass, sending it out to a builder.
You know how they feel, they operate. So there's a real good trust element there.
And the language, I can connect the language with the seller,
Yeah.
when I'm talking about a mitre or I'm talking about a drop saw or I'm talking about a router or, glazing or, strengthened glass, it doesn't matter what I'm speaking the same lingo. It's not like I'm guessing, I know it. So
Yeah.
that's only one element, I do like engineering businesses, anything with tangible machinery in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's drawn me to manufacturing.
So it's a broader aspect. There's a lot of focus and it's quite broad. It's not so singular. So what are the biggest trends that you're seeing right now, in the sale and purchases of manufacturing businesses or in the
That is a great question, Michelle. What I'm seeing at the moment is no mums and dads buyers around at the moment.
Wow.
I'm seeing collective private equity groups, 3 or 4 blokes who have mixed experience pooling their money and buying a portfolio of businesses.
Wow.
They are looking for managed business where they don't really have to work in there, and they're growing a portfolio of different types of businesses with good return. But they want to come in at a lower price and they want to do an earn out or what we call a vendor finance and have my client stay in for a period of time. This is the challenge because my clients are baby boomers that want to exit. So yes, they'll do a proper handover, but they don't want to be locked in for another 2 or 3 years. And they need that money for retirement. And once they hand over control of that business, that's the thing. They don't know that person from a bar of soap and they could run it to the ground, belly up, no money, in all that hard work, no retirement money.
So the risks are very high when it comes to selling in that way.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing at the moment.
So when a business owner is thinking about, selling, what are the top 3 things that they should prepare before listing?
Have their financials completely up to date. Without them, it's a waste of time. Don't even go to the market if you're trailing by 6 months because along comes Mr. Buyer and straight away they want to go to the bank and they want to go to their advisors and the bank goes, give me the real-time figures. They want everything up to today if they could. Make sure that your business is not overstocked, that you haven't got dead stock sitting around everywhere. Clean that up. And the other thing is, if you haven't done it yet and you have processes and systems in your business, get it down on paper or manual so it's transferable to a buyer. Because one thing a buyer is going to do, they're going to want to lock you in if it's up here. You ain't going anywhere. If you want to earn your money, the transition of knowledge is the power.
Oh, that is a really powerful, good saying, the transition of knowledge. That is the power. I like that. I'm going to take that one home. So, what makes, a manufacturing business attractive to a buyer today? And what are the deal breakers?
Uh, I love that deal breaker part, because the deal breaker part is in Queensland, we have the QBCC license, and that is connected to so many different trades: tilers, electricians, air conditioning, refrigeration, building, concrete. Everyone needs a license to do something. And so the buyers that have come along are not licensed and they don't have a trade. So they can't wait for them to go and get a trade to come and buy the business. And how they get around that is they have to elect a nominee, and the nominee is usually the person that's selling. So what they're going to do is they're going to use the seller's license for a year or two, and sometimes it's got to be remunerated to use that license, because at the end of the day, all risk and responsibility falls on the QBCC license holder. Whilst the new owner is in the business and learning and going to tech class at night or doing study to get their own license. So that's the challenge of selling a business today, finding somebody who's going to take that. And it does happen. And I've only just had this conversation before I jumped on here with my principal, whether I was thinking about chucking it away, getting rid of all the manufacturing to do with licenses and going to stuff that's non-licensed. Yeah.
So, what's making it attractive for the manufacturing business buyers today?
Well, made in Australia is one thing.
Okay.
Now, think about this. I heard a stat, baby boomers exiting. I'm a baby boomer, and the cutoff point's 1964. I'm a tail ender, right? So we've got some late baby boomers that should have gone earlier, who, for whatever reason, have held on to their businesses, and now either health's getting them or slightly dementia or whatever, something's getting them. They left it too late. And sometimes if you can get onto it early, you're selling on your own terms. But what's attractive is in China has about 360 million baby boomers in the manufacturing industry ready to retire. Now, their children don't want their businesses. Just like here in Australia, their children aren't going to fill the socks of their thing. I can see a massive, big dip hole in China's manufacturing coming up in the next 5 to 10 years, which I feel might transition or leapfrog India as the new China for manufacturing. So therefore, I also feel that manufacturing could get stronger in Australia, Australian made.
Oh, I love that. Oh, well, that's a good dream to aspire to. So, thank you, Ian. I'm going to come back to you. So, I'm just going to give you a bit of a break and go over to Nicole. So, you're known for asking the hard questions. So, what's an example of a tough question that unlocked growth for a client?
Who's the common denominator in that?
Is that the question? Wow.
So what happens is that, I'm a profit behavioralist. So what that means is that I make people a shitload of money by changing the behavior within their business. So you've got the business owner who's got a goal, what they're trying to achieve, what they want, and then the current reality. And sometimes actually not even clear on the goal. So that is work I do as well. So I'll get goal clarity. Some people call me the clarity catalyst. And then what are the strategies to get there and changing the behaviors? So inevitably, if an owner or someone has me come in and they might say, I need you to change their behavior, right? Or I'll just remind them that you've got one finger pointing out and three fingers pointing back at you. Okay. So inevitably, at some point through the consultancy or the assignment, there'll come a time where I need to give a come to Jesus, CTJ, to a client and call them on their accountability in the situation, because who's the common denominator?
I love that. That is a great explanation.
Because if everyone's been not accountable, or they complain and use those pervasive words like always, or this person never, or my staff don't, or there's always some kind of communication in that lot, it always comes down to, it starts from the top. Yeah. And big corporates understand this and know this because they've invested, thousands of dollars in training and that, that's where my background came from, big corporates. But my love is small to medium enterprise. And I love working with the baby boomers, the mum and dad businesses, because they want to sell and move out. And part of that they haven't had the training that big corporates have, so they don't know these things. So they have me. But B, connecting in with Ian's business, in my view, before I met Ian, when somebody wanted to come in to help them to get ready to sell their business, I'd say there's 3 things that need to happen. Number one, you need to know that there's all the lemon juice hasn't been squeezed out of the lemon, right? There's more potential left in this business. Number 2, your books are in order. So you've got an operations manual. So there's documentation on what happens. And number 3, I've forgotten right now, so I have to think about later.
But I can see that complimentary even there with Ian. He said the same thing, you know, exiting a business, you've got to make sure you've got this and you've got to make sure. So you're even helping them in that if they're wanting to leave later. I love that. So what is the most common ways, you know, businesses leave money on the table without realizing it?
Oh my God. Not charging enough.
Good.
Not charging enough. And the reason they don't charge enough is because they don't understand their value. They don't understand their value, and they don't understand how to position their value out in the marketplace. So if they just, you know, part of my background in corporates is I was a sales effectiveness specialist. So that's it's another level of mastery above a sales professional. So they simply don't know how to package and pitch their service or their product to extract the greatest value from their client. And part of that is about absolute belief and ownership. So it all comes back to mindset and belief and understanding that they don't help themselves or their people truly understand the value and benefit of what they deliver for their clients. And therefore, because they don't have that deep belief in their product necessarily or know how to present it, they don't charge what they should be charging. One of my clients, I just simply, you know, the first step was to get clear on goals and roles and responsibilities, all the basics, but small to mediums, they don't have the basics in place. Not all of them, but, you know. So get real clear, get the foundational elements all in place. So, you know, those things. But then the third element then goes to sales effectiveness. And what we did with this business is simply do a rate rise, but we did it properly. And what that did is help chop off the bottom 20% of the customers who were just time wasters, which then creates energy and time, effort and capacity to then take care of your bigger end clients that are more profitable. We got rid of a couple of the big clients as well, which took a lot of guts and courage, but they were not profitable because of the time and energy that they wasted within the business. So these things, helping people to see the data analytics and understand where business is actually profitable and where it's not. So, you know, people leave money on the table because they don't charge enough. That'd be my simplest answer.
There's a lot of shifting going on in that description as well. So it's really good that, you know, you're sort of seeing the whole of the company is getting addressed. So when a client comes to you saying that they want to make more money, what is the first thing that you evaluate?
Why? The first thing we're going to ask is why.
Yeah.
But in terms of what do I evaluate, when I go in and look at a company, and sometimes I don't even have to go in and physically look at the company. So COVID was beautiful for my business. I doubled my revenue during COVID because suddenly I could work with a much broader audience and work online and work faster. So what I do is I ask questions. I go and I do a diagnosis, the same as any professional, a doctor or an accountant, you know, or a pharmacist might. I go in and I can ask a set of questions with an owner and have a pretty good idea on where the issues are and what's going to make the biggest difference. I then, of course, need to go through to the staff and validate, because sometimes the owners can have a bit of a rose-coloured glasses or what have you. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, because it's cliche almost. They might have you make it more real for them is what I can see. And so
I'd like to add 2 points to your 3 questions. Can I?
Yeah.
Please.
This is organic.
That first one there where you said about strategy and that with business owners, you would be very, very surprised that in 20 years of broking, very minuscule how many people have actually got a business plan, one, and a financial forecast, two, going forward. They're all running their business with blind, dumb luck, and they're in a reactive mode, not a proactive mode. And one of the first things I look at on a P&L is the opening and closing stock. And a lot of them don't have opening and closing stock when I know they've got stock holding. That might not sound like anything to you guys. So straight away it says to me, A, it's a guesstimate.
Yeah.
B, they got no idea how much cash is coming out of their bank throwing stock against the wall. But once they have an opening and closing stock that's actually counted and put into the P&L, it alters their bottom line net profit for the better.
Yeah.
That's leaving money on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. And I knew it would tie in with what, when it comes to the sale of a business, Nicole needs to be in there all the time before they get there, like at least 6 to 12 months beforehand to get it right. So
I agree.
Totally. On that point, 2 years. When I go and work with and organise with one of these baby boomer companies, I say, 2 years, because what I do, and I double revenue in 18 months to 36. Okay, and people sit there go, you can? What? And I go, yeah, absolutely, because there are just basic things that are simple but not easy that business owners don't do.
I mean, the implementation of someone even thinking that, you've said, Ian, that people later they're at the end of and they sort of missed the boat a bit, but they've decided to stay on for a bit longer and their health's deteriorating. If they made that choice then thinking, I'd like to sell a business in a couple of years, but came to you and then Ian could sell that and the profit, what an amazing, recipe. So last question, go to Ian. Go Ian.
I was going to say, these baby boomers, Nicole and I created an avatar. We call it Gary. Gary is like me, born in the 60s, played sport, knockabout bloke or woman, didn't quite finish higher education.
Didn't finish year 10.
Yeah, didn't finish year 10, worked hard from the ground up, but has built something over these decades that is now tangible and big. But what's missing is the acumen to take it further. And so they've got businesses that are too big to be small and too small to be big. They're in a real jam spot. They want to sell. They have no systems and processes. This is the way it's always happened.
Yeah.
And now they want to sell it for top dollar, and in comes the smart cookies. That are, we're going to take it through the roof. But that's what we're stuck with. We've got those hardworking baby boomers, and we've got the highly educated buyers coming in now. So it's a clash.
They're your millennials. So the millennials are in their 30s to 40s.
Yeah.
They've had their corporate career, they've had big paying jobs, so they've got some money and funds behind them, and they're entrepreneurs and they want to own a business. But what they've also got is they're tech savvy and they're not afraid, they're not scared, and they've got energy. So when you've got your baby boomers, it's like, and I talk to them about automating or taking something offshore. It's like it's frightening, it's scary, and it goes against their values because they've been brought up as Aussie diggers, Anzac kind of, and you don't take work overseas. What they don't understand is that I can have someone in the Philippines doing this particular role. It replaces 3 people, allows me to work 24 hours, which gets me to put on another shift, which increases my revenue, and the people that were doing that job, you know what? They've got intellectual property back here in my company. I just reallocate their resource to more meaningful work back here.
Yeah. And they just don't understand it.
It's just frightening. And to Ian's point there, there's so much money being left on the table, and these baby boomers, they want an exit strategy. They don't necessarily, but the kids don't want it, but when the kid does, sometimes the child doesn't have the experience and the breadth and depth. So I have one client, what they got me in for was to get the son up to speed to be the general manager. Now, when I went in, previous year they did 8.4 mil. Year I was coming in, they were on target to do 10.2. The goal in 5 years was to get up to 15 mil turnover revenue. Yeah, we did it in 18 months. Done. Okay, and now 4 years later, they're on 24 mil.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. So, but again, same recipe. Get really clear, get the basics, get the foundational elements in order. then start sales effectiveness strategies.
And then
Rate increase, double shift, took something offshore.
And look, these what do you call them? Young
Millennials.
Millennials. They're smart, right? And a lot of them are coming in now and wanting to buy shares in the company. So they might lay down 70%, 80%, and they want to retain my clients for a year to 18 months.
Yeah.
But in that time, they're going to put them on a salary.
Yep.
And they're all going to profit share. So they're going to take the business up, and whatever the business is growing at, not only are they getting the salary, they're doing the transfer of knowledge, but they're getting a percentage of the profit because they've still got 20 or 30% in the company. What a great way to go.
Oh, it's wise.
But a lot of them are going, no, because they don't understand it. But that's the way it's going.
No,
That's the way earn-out's the way to go.
It's a wonderful business model. I'm in with that too. Please sign me up. So, Nicole, last question before I get switched to in. How do you help business owners get comfortable with the uncomfortable truths in their operations or finances?
Gently, then slam.
Say that again.
Gently, then
Oh.
slam.
I
So
love
literally,
I love it. That's like
literally,
a woman's touch to come in.
yeah, the velvet glove. So it's gentle because I ask questions and I tease things out and I pull information out and I ask questions I know the answer to, as all good sales professionals would, because I want the client to say it out loud. And when you ask enough questions and they start saying and then uncovering the evidence themselves, then they own it and they know.
Yeah.
And then it gets to a place where I've had enough relationship and enough time with the client and that I have enough trust and that they know that my heart is absolutely 100% there, that I care. You know, sometimes I care too much, and that's when I give away the farm. You know, they know that I care, and that's when I ask them the slam question, because the
He
slam
leads them to the truth.
Yeah, the slam question. I dig them a ditch, and then they push themselves in it. But you got to do that.
Yeah,
it's part of the emotional journey, and that's why I win. You know, I win and my client wins. I don't win if my client's not winning.
Right.
And so I soft touch and then I shove. And I do that knowing they're going to fall, they're going to bruise, they're going to hurt. But by that stage, I only do it when I've built enough care and love that they know that I will pick them up and that we will now wash down their wounds and now we can move forward. But it actually has to happen. You've got to go through that valley of death, because otherwise they're not prepared to do the work and they're not prepared to do the shifts.
I understand that totally. And what a great way of, you know, of being able to master that.
I've heard Nicole say to her clients, when you meet me, you're going to love me. Then you're going to hate me. Then you're going to love me again.
And it does end up winning, right? So, Ian, while I've got you there, I would like to just ask you a few more questions. So, how has the intersection of business brokerage and, you know, real estate changed in recent years?
Look, I haven't sold, just to be clear, I have not sold any residential property, but since COVID and the hike in the values of property has gone up, mortgage repayments are lower than landlord rent, right? So when I'm selling businesses where the owner is actually paying a mortgage on the business, the simple question is saying, will you sell the property? It's going hand in hand at the moment. They're going, yes, they want to get out of it.
Wow.
And the buyer wants to get in it because they want to pay a mortgage payment rather than the rents. The rents, look, in the small, very small to medium businesses, some of the rents have whitewashed the profit to the points that the businesses have to move to crappier looking thing, or go to the landlord to see if they can sublet their premises to put someone else in there to share the burden, you know?
Yeah.
Because they can't grow their business fast enough to get above the top of the costs. So to answer the question, I'm selling a lot more property with businesses these days than I did. I used to ask the question, would you sell your property? Oh, no, that's in my super fund. But now, yes, we'll sell it, you know, they want out.
It's an interesting trend to watch. So can you tell me what's one deal that you're especially proud of and why?
I just did one recently where I was referred last year. I think it was last year. It might have been the year before, where I was referred by an accountant. Now, referral's always best form of, whatever. And but it was not in my wheelhouse. It was wholesale fruit and veg.
Ooh.
So I tried to sell it. Had lots of inquiry from all over the country. I just couldn't nail it. So I thought, I'll reach out to one of my colleagues who does supermarket sales, trust him, got him in. We worked. I said, look, I'm just going to go 50-50 on it with you. Come in. I've got the listing. You find the buyer, put them in my hands. We'll get the deal done. We started going down the path, and the buyer was lovely. He's commercial lawyer. He wanted it for his wife, and he lived in the area. I couldn't believe that he didn't see it earlier, We went through some due diligence. Wanted to buy it. He asked the question about the factory. Could I buy the factory? And I said, well, I haven't really got it listed. So I went and spoke to the client and said, look, this factory could be a deal breaker because it had a cooler room. Will you sell it? And he goes, oh, yeah, but only for market value. I said, get market value. So we got 3 appraisals. We went back. He came back and negotiated. So we got that deal done. But what I like, this is what I actually like about it. And it was so obvious to the buyer that we looked at the history of the trading, and it was doing 4.5 million, 4.6, 4.7, 4 million, 4.5. I was thinking, why could it never bust the form? Why couldn't it go up? And, it was through his eyes that he, and doing his due diligence, he realised why. See, wholesale fruit and veg. What was my client doing all day? On the phone ringing his customers for their orders, right? So when this buyer bought it, he said, I ain't doing that. He said he made an app and sent it out to the customers. You want to buy from me, you just put your order in through the app. It released 6 hours a day, 30 hours a week that he can work on the business. So what did he do? He goes round to local farms. This is over in New South Wales. He's now bringing in nuts and honey. He's put other arms in, and he said it's just booming. And they don't even ring the customers now. The customers now know, do the app, put your order in, send the button.
That's a millennial buyer going in on a baby boomers. It's gold. It is so much gold.
I love how he automated that instantly.
So awesome. And it's simple. And people just don't get it. Like, they sit there when I say double revenue, it's not hard.
No. And
it's having external eyes, external expertise, one little idea. Sorry, Ian, I talked over you.
No, I was also going to add that when I was ringing my seller to see how things are going at the, while they're doing the handover period, he was sort of saying, oh, he's put some bloody automated thing in, that won't work, bloody platform,
Yeah.
When I rang the buyer, I said, I spoke to the seller. He said, you're putting in some automation thing. He goes, only zero. An accounting program. So he did an automated accounting program where they were doing the old bloody 10-foot tall invoice books, stack of invoice books.
Oh
he took manual straight out of it, straight away. We're automating the accounts, we're automating stock control, we're automating the orders. The customers will order from us. We're not going to ring them. And then I can go out and get more lines. Boom, this thing's just blowing up, this business. For years doing.
They already had the loyalty and everything there. So, yeah.
Fantastic. That's a great story. And that was just a recent one, which it was a good story and it was a good sale in the end.
Yeah, and it's everyone's winning, really.
Seller was very happy because he bought his new Winnebago and he's traveling around Australia.
Oh, magic. So for someone considering a business instead of starting one from scratch, what advice would you give?
Considering buying a business from scratch?
Rather than starting one from scratch.
All depends on the industry. It's a great question. All depends on the industry. But if you're buying one, what are you really buying? You're buying the brand. If the brand's got a good name and the database that they supply to, that's going to chop miles off the years that you have to build that up. So it's the relationships within the business and the how to. Whereas if you start from scratch, you've got to go and get your branding. You've got to do everything. You've got to go and find the media people.
Your reputation, legacy.
Your reputation, build all the tools, social media website, all of that, all your logo, your how-to, your plant and equipment, whatever it is you're doing. So it is good to buy into a business that's been trading, got the foundation down. And if you're coming in as a millennial and you can see a quicker and faster way like that story I just said, then why wouldn't you just jump at it and then just go to the moon?
I love
Can I add into that?
Relate to it, yes.
Can I add into that, sweetheart?
Yeah.
Yes, you can both be, sweetheart. So it's not just in terms of automation and tech. Yeah. So millennials, my background is big pharmaceutical and, culture and people performance, etc. Lots of millennials, they're 30 to 40. They've worked with really big, great brands and companies and organizations where they've had lots of training. They understand culture. They understand the value and importance of mission, vision, and values. They understand how to create a strategy and how to execute on it, right? Baby boomers haven't had all that corporate training, right? So for a millennial to come into a baby boomer business, you've got tech is one lever that you can go. You've got automation, but you've also got culture, okay? And there's another one of Ian's businesses that I've seen where what they've done in terms of culture by putting in and understanding the value of relationships and managing well and having business accountability structures in place, like communication cadence, one-on-ones, performance reviews quarterly, not the old-fashioned annual way, regular, consistent conversations with their people.
Dream board.
I've a dream board, for what this business has done in terms of double, triple their revenue over the last, I don't know, I've only, Ian and I have only been together 4 or 5 years. I don't know how long have we known that business, Ian?
When you first met me, they were 14 million. It's only 4 years ago, they're 37 million turnover.
It's so wonderful to see the results that, even after you've finished the deal. So the last question I've got for you personally, Ian, is what's the most challenging part of brokering, in the manufacturing businesses compared to other industries?
What's the most challenging part of what, listing it, selling it?
What's the most challenging part of the brokering manufacturing businesses compared to brokering any other industry?
Yeah. So when manufacturing, the components inside the factory is not stock. It's what's the word? I can't remember. Going old, goldfish brain. Oh, it's inventory, right? So inventory, so welding rods, box steel, all the componentry to build something, right? So they don't have stock. What they have is WIP, work in progress. So as a broker, when I value a business and I put a price, then I put, it's not walk in, walk out, it's plus WIP. So there's a WIP adjustment. So you might have $200,000 worth of work on the factory floor. How much of it have I invested in labor and parts? And so that gets taken away, and there's an adjustment back to the buyer, because the buyer will realize the balance of that job. There has to be a line in the sand. You can never walk into a manufacturing where all the job cards are done, and then when I own the business, I start a new job card. You're always in the middle of something, right? But not only that, there's container loads of material on the water. So you've got to remember that's got to bring that in. Then the business needs $300,000 or $400,000 liquid in the bank to operate the business. So that's on top for the buyer. And then in Queensland, our government charges stamp duty on businesses and businesses with stock. So when you think about it, purchase price, work in progress adjustment, rental adjustment, staff entitlement adjustment, stock on the water or inventory on the water adjustment, and then stamp duty. That's a lot of plus. So if you're buying a business around $1 million, it could be $1.7 million. So as a broker, I've got to make sure that they're qualified to $1.7 million, not $1 million, not the ask price.
Yeah, that's really good, as opposed to going in and buying a turnkey or going in and buying something that is a cafe. That's really, that's a totally
putting a buyer on contract where they're actually now invested in their pocket with a solicitor, paying massive bills that are never going to make it to the final because they don't have the rest of the money for working capital. The broker has to know these components,
ahead of the game.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to you, Ian, for our little closing questions, but I do want you to keep adding, like you've done with Nicole's questions as well, because I find it very valuable how you both critique each other and add in. So, Nicole, what's your philosophy on scaling, a business sustainably versus just growing revenue?
Get the foundation right. If you do not have the foundation right, you cannot build.
There you go.
Full stop.
I love it.
It's really simple. People just don't do the basics well. Do the foundation right. And if that means just purely having an advisor, and that's something that I do, just purely having an advisor come in and do an assessment on, do I have my basic bricks and mortar, my foundational elements strong enough, robust enough to sustain scaling, that's worth gold.
I'd love to chime in this one.
Oh, please.
So a business I sold about a year or so ago in Brisbane, long-term business, like decades. The son was my client, and he was a 17-year-old boy in his dad's business. So he was turning 60 when I sold it for him, and they build trucks in the building construction industry for all different brands. And I found a buyer from Sydney, young. He rocked up in shorts and work boots, and I looked at him, but didn't realize that he was in the same sort of industry in Sydney. Super smart, and he had about 3 or 4 businesses. And I was just listening to the way he was talking while he was in my inspection at the Brisbane. And I had a chat to him. I said, "It sounds like you need to talk to my wife, because you need a bit of, you've just bought another business and you've got 3 or 4." And he was talking about time and structure and systems, and he loved culture. So he did speak to my wife, and you did visit them in Sydney, and you did put a proposal to them, and they were going to take the proposal, but they were just too busy for their own good. And I don't know what they're doing today, but they needed some structure, and you could see what they were doing. You know more about it than me, Nicole. So
They kind of missed the boat.
yeah, didn't go. That one didn't go ahead, but I did refer that he went through with my sale, bought the business, just added to his portfolio, but I could see he was just time poor. He just needed some structures, and yeah, he was interested to meet Nicole. Met Nicole. He even went to Sydney, went out to their plant, had a look at all that. So
I did an initial little piece with them. So we did a small piece of advisory that came from the assessment, and they put some of those things into play. The opportunity missed for them is that being able to transfer or stop dipping down. So what I mean by dipping down is when an owner or a general manager, someone in senior, is doing the work of the people below them.
Ooh.
Okay, and so what happens is they dip down because they want to do it themselves, or they don't trust the other person to do it well enough. But what that does is limit capacity, because while they're dipping down, then they're taking time where they should be working on other strategic initiatives. Plus also it says to the people below them that you don't trust me, and then people lose their passion and their commitment level for the work that they're doing. And so, there were certainly some things there that, just purely advisory. I gave them this is some things that you need to do, 1, 2, 3. And I know they put those in place, and they tripled their money from what they spent with me. Great.
And that's a great outcome as well.
Totally.
You kind of answered the next question, but I know that you can elaborate. But what's one underrated metric every business owner should track, but often doesn't?
Oh, wow. What a great question. God, am I going to do well answering this? Oh, I don't know. I could talk this an hour.
Well, give me a real small.
I will. I'll
Remember,
try.
it's
I'll try.
one,
I'll
one
try.
underrated metric. One.
Okay. So liberty.
Keep going on. You've got to give a little bit more explanation than liberty.
Okay. So the things that are easy to measure are the things that people find easy to talk about. So revenue, KPIs, turnover, attrition, all of those metrics. But more often than not, when I go in and before I start an assignment with a client, I get really clear on the goal, really clear on the brief, the goal. What are the milestones? So what are the metrics for us knowing what a good job looks like, and what's the value of that? Now, inevitably, they want to go to the easy things to measure, but the ones that have the most meaning are the ones that you can't see. Okay, and one of those is liberty. So for a business owner, a baby boomer who wants to sell their business potentially in 5 years, and I'm helping them get ready. Okay. One of the biggest things is for them to change their identity about how they see themselves in the business and what liberty they have. So instead of slaving in their business for 80 hours a week, right? One of the things that I transition over time and how we do measure it is for them. So the first measuring point is getting them out of their business 1 day a week or 2 days a week, and when I can get to someone to a business where they can go on holidays for 2 weeks and not dial in, that's gold.
That is an achievement in itself. Yeah,
So that business I mentioned before, the one that, 8 million up to 24 now, I remain in contact on Facebook. I just saw him yesterday. There was pictures of first class ticket, first class seat in the airplane, and then the whole lot of pictures of animals in Africa.
Oh, wow.
And his caption was "Gone bush."
Oh, instead of gone fishing, gone bush. I love that.
Totally.
So how do you tailor, your approach to business of different sizes or industries?
I don't really.
That's good.
It's the same. It's the same. So what things I might tailor is my conversation or my vernacular, my language. Because if I'm talking to different people, I will adjust my behavior. I am a behavioralist. I will adjust my behavior to match the audience where I'm going. And so, some people I'll swear like a trooper. That's what I do. I've sat in that truck. I've climbed the ladder. I'll do what I got to do. But in terms of my approach, it's always the same.
Yeah.
My approach is to go in with curiosity, open heart, open eyes, ask questions, get clear, get clarity, find out why, because I also want to test what their mettle is. Okay, I really need to understand their why, because if they're not committed to it, because it's going to get tough, it always does. So if they're not committed and if they don't understand their why, I ain't doing business with you.
There you go. It still works out, right? Because it's, there's no
Totally.
being there if it didn't. But, that's really good, for people out there to know that, no one's really treated differently. Your approach might be slightly, but you've been there, you've done the trials and the treasons, and you're able to actually, approach either. So people can trust that as well.
Totally.
And
so
yeah.
So, for example, I've worked in major corporates, like I did, an assignment for the Courier Mail, but that's News Limited, it's huge, right? And then I've done assignments for, massive truck companies, right? And then I've done assignments for a small builder that was only doing 1.5 mil turnover. I wouldn't usually even entertain that, but he was a referral from someone very important. And so I said, yes, I will help that. Regardless, still doubled revenue. Just still the same process. Same process. Get clear on goal, get clear on current reality, ask the tough questions, ask the nice questions, tough questions, hard questions, slam to help them understand where they're at. Then they're marinated. What's when you hit meat? It's not marinated. What is that? Tenderized. Then they're tenderized enough for me to then say, okay, well, what are the 3 big steps to get us from here to there? That's just strategy. Here's 3 strategies. And then off we go and execute them. Done.
So what's been, this is the last question for you until we come back together. What's been the most rewarding turnaround or result that you've helped create for a client?
It's probably the one. Oh my gosh, where do I go? Which do I choose? Oh, wow. Okay, so I've got a client that I started with that was a very big, the franchisor. So they've got 47 franchisees below them. So my original assignment was to go out to America, do a keynote speak. Whenever I do that, I don't do just the day, so there's preparation to warm up the audience, get things in order, because there's also behavioral change that the president wanted out of this program. So lead in work, go over to America. I spent a week with them. I went to their conference. I did the keynote. I was a professional dancer in my 20s. And so, of course, on the opening night, and there's cocktails out by the bar and the pool. So I managed to always find the dancer and have a bit of a dance, because that creates a bit of air and mystique about Nicole. which is just all helps with the drama to then have people then buy in and listen. So I did my keynote speak. Across the franchise, the revenue increase across the group was 33%. Now
Wow.
that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, that's the average. Yeah, so that's huge. But the real story is then some of the individual franchisees engaged me. So one of those individual franchisees, I worked for them for 18 months, and then paused. Then I've gone back and done another assignment. On the most recent assignment, one of the partners, beautifully, this person is so full of joy, but at the end of the assignment, he said, Nicole, I just cannot thank you enough for what you've done for me and Michael. I cannot thank you enough because we couldn't have got through this chapter the way that we did with the beautiful, amazing outcomes that we have and kept our romantic relationship intact.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's just, I love what I do.
And that is so very heartwarming. So now we're going to wrap it up for you both, just with a few final closing questions. And you both answer, but not over the top of each other. So what's one piece of business advice you each live by?
Who's going first?
You, husband.
Oh, it looked like you're looking over there. Business advice. Okay.
Business advice you each live by.
Tell the truth.
Got it.
Yeah. I always say to my clients, the sellers, look at your business through your buyer's eyes. Yeah. A lot of them got pie in the sky dreams, but you know, take a look at your business through your buyer's eyes and see what you're looking at. Would you buy it? And just always be truthful. And our documentation that we send out too is be transparent. Don't try and be dodgy, because I'll find out if you're dodgy, and then it's just going to cost you money in the long run.
Truth and transparent. I love it. What about you, Nicole?
Questions are king. So for me, I ask questions. I ask questions because I care, because I'm curious. I ask questions to validate. And if anything that I leave my clients as advisory or when I'm coaching or when I'm consulting, is that I hope that I leave my clients better positioned and better skilled to ask good questions, to know why they're asking the questions, to be better at it, and to validate. You know, validate. And you ask questions not because you want to know the answer. You know the answer. You want the other person to say the answer out loud, because that's when you can shift people.
Yeah. Love that. Questions and validation. So if you had to describe each other's business in 3 words, what would they be?
Heart, care, control.
Say that again. Say that again.
Heart, care, control.
Love it.
Relationships, deep experience,
That's
outcome.
3 words.
Say that again. Say that again, Nicole.
Relationships, you know, deep and broad experience, and discipline. I know I grabbed extra words. It's because I'm greedy.
That's all right. You did well. And this is, you know, something you may have not communicated to each other yet. So it's wonderful to be having this with both of you. And
I showed good listening skills because you said 3 words.
The very last question is, how do you celebrate wins together, even if they're from very different industries?
Oh, that's really easy. Every time I sink a sale or win a sale or get my check, we go out for dinner and we have a bit of a splurge.
We go dancing.
We go dancing, we have a decent meal, we have a great wine, and we always say this is a reward for the work.
And you do that with each other, no matter what, who's got that. And that, celebrating those senses of achievements is so important, but so much more important in the fact that you're a husband and wife entrepreneurs that are also doing their own businesses, but I also know or do a together business as well. So, it's very important to have that. You've got play, you've got all these wonderful things happening with each other, but what a beautiful coexisting business and relationships that's going on with you both. So what I want to do here is thank you very much for your time. We have done really well with our time that we've given for you here. I've got to know a lot more about you. I think people out there have definitely got a lot more insight about, this dream team that really the cohesion between your businesses, but also your relationship is something worth people, having a conversation to you both about. So I want to thank you here, and this is where I will stop the recording. And beautiful. I'll find my gap. So when it comes to people being able to get in contact with you, Nicole, how would that and what would that look like?
Okay, so I mentioned before that in terms of the structure or my approach, it's always the same. And that starts with me getting really clear, helping the owner get really clear about what the goal is. That's what I call a clarity session. And so with you and with your listeners, I love Unemployable. I love what you guys do, and I love your energy. For you, particularly with your audience, I'd be very, very happy to offer that clarity session to any of your listeners. Now, the way to do that, I know typically it's go to a landing page or go to the website or this or that. I'm a really personable person, so I'm just going to give you a mobile number. I'm going to read that out in a moment. And if any of your listeners would like a clarity session, then just pop in your name, your email, and if you want that clarity session, put in CS, the clarity session, and I will make contact with you and deliver that. So the mobile that you want to contact is 0429 335 420.
You've got to repeat that.
I will repeat that, 0429 335 420.
And I'm sure we'll put that in the chat as well. And
absolutely. Put that in the show notes. Yeah, great.
Yeah, wonderful. And Ian, if someone's thinking about, going and working with Nicole and then coming over to you to sell their business, how does that work?
Ring Nicole.
First, but then how do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, no, I was going to say ring Nicole and see if you're ready for sale. But you can Google my name, Ian Salter, and I'm everywhere on the internet. LinkedIn, it'll come up everywhere. But I'm an agent with Benchmark Business Sales, have been for 20 years. Or you can call me on my mobile because I'm personable as well. 0433 563 585. That's 0433 563 585. Ian Salter, your advisor broker.
That is wonderful. I love it. It's, just like something out of the advertisements. Well done, both of you. And of course, we'll put all that in the chat as well, and people can get in contact with you.